Hi, friends, and welcome to 15241 Today Talk, subtitled Jim and Lanny on stage at the Upper St. Clair High School stage. And we're really honored to have Dave Schraven with us today, 8th year as the head coach of the swimming team at Upper St. Clair High School, a native of Buffalo, New York, swimmer there, 6-time New York State high school champion, went to Stanford, excelled there as well, married an Upper St. Clair girl.
That's right.
And here he is. So did I get all of that? Did I get all of that right?
That's a pretty good brief summary. I appreciate that. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Great to have you with us.
Dave and I have something in common, I think.
You're both great swimmers?
A few pounds ago, not last week.
For both of us.
That's what I'm saying. We have something in common. You didn't know I was a swimmer,
I did not know that. You were telling us earlier that you finished. Never mind. Okay.
Yeah. Not in his company, anyhow. Yeah.
Let me start generically, Dave, with swimming. And
Sure.
Is a great swimmer? Is it in his or her DNA, or are they nurtured? Can a young athlete be taught to be a great swimmer?
That's a really great question. And before I started coaching, I would have said that it's most likely in the DNA, and you either have it or you don't. As I've been coaching for nearly 20 years now. I've seen a lot of kids that started when they were 7 or 8 years old, and you watch them swim and you think, geez, they're just not very good, right? And then a light bulb, something goes on, and then 10 years later they're swimming at the state meet. So the swimming rewards hard work and dedication. I think that if you look at the swimmers that are at the very, very top in the world, certainly there's a talent factor that is undeniable. But there's no question that that with the right effort and focus, that swimmers can be made as well.
At what age did you realize that you had this passion for competing in swimming?
I started swimming when I was 6 years old, and I continued to do that. And I played other sports as well, soccer, baseball, growing up. I was a hyper-competitive kid. And one of the things I found frustrating in team sports was I didn't really control. It didn't matter how I did because I had other people out there as well. And in swimming, if I won, I won, and if I got beat, that was on me. And I liked kind of having that control over it. So that appealed to me when I was younger, and I was adept at it. So I think people tend to like the things that they're good at. So those two things kind of work together. And I really focused exclusively on swimming starting in around 8th grade.
How much has the training for swimmers changed? Did swimmers not lift weights in the past? Now they do? What changes?
It's a lot more science-based now than it was when I swam 30 years ago.
More what now?
Science-based.
Okay.
I think there's a lot. We used to just do things for the sake of doing it, I think. When I swam back in the 80s, I would say that the MO was, if a little is good, more is better. So we did extraordinary amounts of yardage. We might swim 80 to 100,000 yards a week in training, which is, a pretty exceptional amount of work. And nowadays, I would say that the training is a lot more focused, and it's not just, we call it garbage yardage, when you just say to somebody, all right, swim 10 500s and just go up and down the pool. People kind of realize that training slow all the time doesn't necessarily prepare you to then be really fast when you want to race. So I think there's more of an emphasis now on achieving race speed in training on a daily basis, and it makes more sense. So I think so between that, what we call dry land, the weight room side of things, and then I think nutrition would be the third aspect of that. It's a lot different, and I think that you see that in the results that people are getting in swimming. Unlike track and field, swimming, track and field, you can go back 20 or 30 years, and the times are not that much different in a lot of events. Swimming it just keeps getting faster, and people think, oh geez, it can't possibly get faster, and then it just does. It's really pretty amazing.
Swimming used to be noted for practicing before school in the morning and then after school.
Right.
So you had like 2-a-days all year round.
Right.
Do you still do that?
Actually, so I'm evolving on that and have gotten away from that. So when I started here 8 years ago, my swimmers swam, they practiced 3 days a week in the mornings from 5:30 to 6:45. And then every day after school plus Saturdays. It's a lot of work. A few years back, I went down to 2 mornings a week, and I didn't notice any drop-off in performance. If anything, we seemed to get better. Last year, we went to 1 morning a week. Same thing, still performed really well. This year, we've done very few mornings. You read more these days about the importance of rest and recovery, especially for teenagers. They're sleep deprived. Swimmers, they tend to do very well in school. They're taking really hard academic course loads, staying up late, studying. And I figured they might be better off getting sleep versus coming here in the morning and practicing. So we've kind of made our afternoon practices more intense to make up a little bit for what we're not doing in the morning. And I think everybody appreciates it. I know I do. I don't have to get up at 4:30 3 days a week. And I used to think, geez, like if I'm this exhausted, I'm not even the one who's in the pool swimming. How tired must these kids be? So I think it's it's still kind of an experiment, and I'm waiting to see how we perform this year. Up till now, we've been really strong. So the morning thing might be something that's kind of, at least for our program,
One of the reasons I asked that question, I've noticed that the hockey people are not having morning skates like they used to, which I used to wonder, why do they do that?
Sure.
In football, we were always trying to figure out ways to save the legs.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, our Penguins aren't doing morning skates.
Right.
And so that's why I was curious about.
Yeah, I think that's an evolution, and sometimes the old habits die hard. You know what I mean? It's like, well, we've always done it this way, and so we kind of broke out of that mold. The one thing that I do, I believe that in swimming, when you're in a major competition, you have what's called preliminaries and finals. So let's say that there's 100 kids in an event. They all swim in the preliminaries, and then the top 8 or the top 16 make finals. So you race in the morning, then you have 5 or 6 hours off, then you race again at like dinner time. So I do like to maintain the mornings, just because I do think that there's something to be said for, you need to have kind of in your routine, I need to be able to perform at 9 a.m. Right? And if we just practice after school all the time, your body's used to performing at 3 o'clock. How do you get it ready to race at 9 o'clock in the morning? So that's one of the things that obviously we swim on weekends. So but what we might do at the end of the season is say, you know what, we're going to take this afternoon off. We'll practice in the morning, and then you can just go home after school, get your work done, go to bed early. It's all it's in flux, and it's all experimental.
Your teams, tell me about your Upper St. Clair boys and girls teams. You've had a little bit of success here.
Yeah, we have a really strong tradition here. It's a great program. One of the things I'm most proud of with our team, consistently, they have different rankings on a national basis. One of the things that's great about swimming is it's very objective, right? You have times for all of your swimmers. So to judge somebody's performance, it's not a matter of opinion. You can just look at the time measured to the 100th of a second. So there's a program run by NISCA, which is the national governing body for high school swimming. They're the ones that do the All-American lists. They also have what's called a national dual meet championship. So you can take your team, all of the best times that your team has done throughout the season, and you put them in a meet lineup as if you were swimming a dual meet, right? 2 relays, and then your top 3 swimmers in every event. And they assign what they call power points to a time. And then, essentially you end up with a total for your team. This is how many power points your team has scored. And then they have school size categories. One is under 900, 900 to 1400, which we're at the very top end of that. And then it's like 1401 to 1900, and then over 1900. In our school size category, 900 to 1400, we have last year the boys team was 2nd in the country. The girls team was 5th in the country. Our boys team has been number 1 in the country several times for our school size. So when we compete, we've lost to North Allegheny more times than I like to count in both boys and girls swimming. They have more than twice the number of students in their school than we do. So when you kind of level the playing field and look at how we compete for our school size, we truly are one of the top programs in the country for our school size. And I think that's a great accomplishment for our program.
The University of North Allegheny, still.
Everybody's nemesis, right?
Yes. I remember those days.
We're going to talk about Josh Matheny in a moment, but give us some of the names of some of the other swimmers that are major players on your teams.
This year, on the girls' side, we have seniors, Katie McCurry, Eleanor Connor, a really strong junior class with returning state qualifiers, Taylor Connors, Abby Rutkowski, Sophia Schlichting. They all made the state championships last year. I expect them to do so again this year. On the boys' side, we have Josh Matheny as a junior. Our senior captain is Jacob Yakima. We also have Jason Zhang, Ryan Senchishak, and then a really strong sophomore class that's big and improving every day. So we have small senior classes this year. We graduated a really big senior class, both girls and boys, last year. So I don't want to say this year is a rebuilding year, but we were kind of going from being top heavy on the upperclassmen to now be more underclassmen, and we have a really strong 8th grade class for both boys and girls moving in. So I think the future looks really great for our program.
That new swimming pool might have a little bit to do.
I think so. I think that's going to make a really big difference for us. And I know especially it's not necessarily going to be an overnight transformation, but I really do believe that we're going to have a lot more younger people that want to check out swimming and get involved with the sport. And I've seen it happen with other communities that have gotten new pools. All of a sudden, 3 to 5 years down the road, you start to see this influx of people into their teams who maybe took up swimming because they got a new facility. So I feel like we already have a strong program, but maybe 5 years from now we can take on the University of North Allegheny a little bit more competitively than we do now.
The old pool had 5 lanes?
Correct.
The new pool has
8.
8 lanes.
Plus we have a second 4-lane pool. So we actually have 2 pools, which is really an unusual.
You mean in the new facility?
That's right.
The
new facility has 2 pools. And the second pool is almost the same size as our current pool. And when you look at the facility, you think, oh, geez, that's just a small little pool. It's actually almost the same size as what our current pool is. One of the reasons we want to have 2 pools, and it was really forward thinking for the school board and the school district to do this, is when you talk to people now about building a swimming facility, if you have let's say if you have no limitations on what you can do, they recommend building 2 pools, because one pool can be, the water can be a little bit warmer for programming. Basically, the only people that like 80-degree water are swimmers, competitive swimmers, swimming laps up and down the pool. If you're doing exercise classes or swimming lessons, that water can be kind of cold. So if you can keep the water a couple of degrees warmer, it's a lot more comfortable. And I think that will help draw people into the program. One of the things we run into with the real little ones and learn to swim, they get in a 79, 80-degree pool and they're freezing. And then it kind of turns them off to swimming because they just associate it with being really cold. So hopefully we can get around that now in our new facility.
Isn't the smaller pool a diving?
Right, so we have our diving boards in that pool. That pool has 4 feet in the shallow end down to a traditional 12 feet in the deep end with the diving boards. Our 8-lane competition pool, the whole pool is 7 feet deep, which makes, if you ever hear somebody talk about a fast pool, what are the characteristics of a fast pool? If you have deeper water, if you think about it, when you have 8 bodies, churning the water, it sends a wave to the bottom. If it's a shallow pool, the wave hits the bottom and then bounces back up and creates turbulence. If it's deeper, then you don't have as much turbulence in the water. So our new facility is state-of-the-art, and the competition pool will be really fast. But we also have this second pool that's going to open up a lot of possibilities for us from a programming perspective.
Josh Matheny.
Yes.
Tell us about him and his chances of going to Tokyo.
Yeah, well, so Josh is an exceptional athlete, but I think the thing that really distinguishes him is his drive. He wants to be the best, and that's not something that any coach can teach their athlete, as you well know. When somebody has that internal motivation, as coaches, our job is to direct it as best we can so they can fulfill their potential. So Josh has a rare combination of talent and drive to be the best. He's had exceptional success for his age group, 18 and under. The Olympics it's kind of a different animal, because then you're competing with people of all ages. So while certainly Josh is a member of the U.S. national team, what that means is in every Olympic event, the top 6 swimmers in that event are part of what they call the national team. So anybody who's on the national team has aspirations to make the Olympics. So Josh he's in a very small group of people that are in that conversation. At the same time, he's only 17 years old. Most of the people he'll compete against in breaststroke are 23, 25, 27 years old. So he has his work cut out for him, but I do think that certainly some of these older guys are well aware of his presence and his capabilities.
Does he strength train a lot?
He does. We have a strength training program here that we run at Upper St. Clair, which he does 3 days a week. He also does some supplemental work with stretching, and he started doing deep tissue massage. He's kind of tight and not very limber, so we're trying to work on his flexibility and really just doing anything that we can so that he has the best chance possible when we go to the Olympic trials in June.
All right, talk about the World Juniors this
Correct.
past summer that both of you were involved.
That's right. So Josh qualified for the World Junior Championships, that's the 18 and under World Championships. So all of the best swimmers aged 18 and under went to Budapest for their championship meet. I was fortunate. Josh qualified for the 100 breaststroke and the 200 breaststroke, and I was fortunate to be selected as one of the assistant coaches for that trip, which was a great honor. And also a really fantastic experience for Josh to compete in a international meet like he had never been at before. He ended up winning the 200-meter breaststroke, so he's the world champion for 18 and under, and he was only 16 at the time, I might add. So he still is competing in that 18 and under level for another year and a half. I think for Josh, he also was second place in the 100-meter breaststroke at that meet. So he really had an exceptional meet, and it was really fun for me as his coach to be there to witness all that.
Was he involved in any relays?
He did swim on 2 relays. The men's 400 medley relay, he did breaststroke. They actually broke the world record, but the Russians beat him by a couple tenths of a second, so they got second. In the mixed medley relay, which is 2 men and 2 women, Josh swam the breaststroke on that. They won the gold medal and actually broke the world record. So he is a world record holder for 18 and under in that relay.
Dave, we were talking earlier, I found it interesting, you were talking about the breaststroke as a power stroke, and that, do I have this right, you were saying that typically it is the older swimmer that dominate that
Yeah, that's right.
event?
If you look at all the different swimming events, you can kind of, you could see what's the average age of the people that are at the top in the world in that event. I would say on the men's side, the breaststroke events are definitely dominated by older swimmers who have matured more, and they just have that strength, that you have in your mid-20s that you don't have when you're a teenager. So it's really kind of unique for Josh to be in the situation he is at age 17.
And then at 2024, he's 21 years of age, and
that's right. So
and you were also saying you wanted to try to keep the expectations lower for Josh this year.
I don't want Josh feeling pressure that those expectations for him when we go to Omaha in June for the Olympic trials. I just want him to focus on what does he need to do to be his best. And then whatever he does, if he gets in there and performs to the best of his ability, interesting things can happen. But I don't want him focused on those things. I'd rather have him focused on just what does he need to do to perform his best. And I think we've done a good job of focusing on that to this point.
But clearly his event is the breaststroke.
That's right.
Right.
The 100 and 200 breaststroke.
How many events does he swim, for our high school
So
team?
there's only one breaststroke event in high school swimming. It's the 100 breaststroke. They don't compete the 200 in high school. He also swims the individual medley, which is all 4 strokes: butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, and freestyle. He was 4th in the state last year, and we have a really strong state in that event. High school swimming in Pennsylvania in general is really strong. If you look at the All-American lists, Pennsylvania is typically number 2 in the country behind California in terms of overall All-Americans. So it's very competitive in high school. He was 4th in the state in the individual medley. Actually, our own Jack Fitzpatrick, who is at Notre Dame now, was 3rd last year. And then Josh also won the 100 breaststroke. He broke the state record, actually, of a guy named Brendan Hansen from the early 2000s. Brendan went on to be an NCAA champion and multiple gold medal winner in the Olympics. So it's interesting that he was probably the last great American breaststroker, and now another Pennsylvanian, hopefully, is coming to follow in his footsteps.
Josh is already committed to Indiana University.
That's right.
Swimming.
Yeah. So Indiana, Josh really kind of had his choice of where he would like to attend college. So he visited a number of schools, and Indiana, he really enjoyed the team and the coach. Indiana also has a really great tradition of, in particular with breaststrokers right now. The women's world record holder in 100 breaststroke is named Lily King, who just graduated from Indiana. They have a pro group of swimmers that train with their college team, with multiple Olympic breaststrokers in that group. So really a great, if you were to pick one place really in the world right now that has the best group of breaststrokers there, it's Indiana. So that was obviously really appealing to Josh, and also just the environment, the school, and the guys on the team.
Are they still winning the Big Ten championship on a regular basis?
Indiana, so they were a tremendous powerhouse in the 60s and 70s when Doc Councilman, who's a legendary coach, was there. Mark Spitz swam at Indiana. And then there was a period of time where they really, kind of had fallen off the map a little bit. Their current coach, a guy named Ray Lewis, who I've known since my college days because he swam at USC while I was at Stanford, so I've known him for a long time. He came in, I think, in 2003 or 2004, and at that time, they were 7th or 8th in the Big Ten, so they had kind of dropped off. I think within 3 years they had won the Big Ten again, and now they're consistently in the top 3 in the country. So Josh will be walking into a program that, that in addition to being great for him individually, also he'll be on a team that is extremely competitive on a national basis. And it's exciting to be a part of a team like that.
Absolutely.
You talked earlier about nutrition.
Yes.
As a key. What are the things that swimmers need to think about as it relates to nutrition?
Well, so a lot of it is making sure you fuel your body properly before a workout. I was just having a conversation with the team last weekend. You can tell in a 2.5-hour practice when, the kids are working hard, you'll see somebody having a great workout, and then all of a sudden they kind of crash and burn after about an hour and a half, and I'll say, "What'd you have for breakfast this morning?" "Oh, a piece of toast." Well, guess what? Your piece of toast just ran out, So it's the fueling before the workout to make sure that your body can sustain that effort level. And then also, what do you put in your body immediately after you practice? The recovery, it's been demonstrated in many studies that your ability to recover from workouts is really impacted by what you eat immediately after a given workout. Surprisingly, they found, with all the different sports drinks and protein drinks and all the different things out there, that chocolate milk is really the best thing that you can have after, and all the kids love chocolate milk, right? So just things like that, like what are you eating before practice, what are you eating after? Interestingly, with Josh, in particular, he has celiac as well as some nut allergies. So how he eats is really restricted. And in many ways, there's a disadvantage to it because, if we're out traveling, if he eats something that has gluten in it, it's a big problem for him. Conversely, in his case, it forces him to be really aware of what he eats and to eat healthy. So it's kind of a double-edged sword for him. It's hard for him to get the right stuff, but he does tend to eat really well because of those restrictions that he has.
David, we're out of time. Congratulations to you for the great work that you're doing here at Upper St. Clair, and continue to dominate and win championships. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being with us.
It's been great being here.
And that wraps up our program for today with Dave Schraven, the head coach of the boys and girls swim teams at Upper St. Clair, our coordinating producer, Linda Dunzinski, our producer-director, Glenn Ward. Thanks for joining us.